שלום לכולם, ברוכים הבאים לפסטיבל קולנוע רוחני, פסטיבל ספיריט. מאוד שמחה לארח פה היום לשיחה את יוצרי הסרט לשגשג. זה מה שצריך לעשות. לשגשג זה מה שצריך לעשות, זה הסרט השני של בני הזוג פוסטר, גמבל וקימברלי. ואני מאוד שמחה שאנחנו מארחים אותם פה. אתם יכולים להשתתף בשיחה הזאת, מאוד מאוד מוזמנים להשתתף בשיחה הזאת. יש המון נושאים שיהיה מעניין לשאול את פוסטר וקימברלי. יש לכם לשונית קטנה של Q&A בתחתית הוובינר הזה, ושם אתם יכולים לכתוב לנו את השאלות, אני אקריא אותם ויעביר אותם לפוסטר ולקימברלי. אתם יכולים לכתוב בעברית גם, אם יותר נוח לכם לכתוב את השאלות בעברית. אז זאת ההקדמה הקצרה שלי בעברית, ואני עוברת עכשיו לאנגלית. So welcome Foster and welcome Kimberly. I'm so excited and feel so blessed and honored to host you here in Spirit Film Festival and have your incredible, important, and amazing new film, Strive to. This is what it takes. So,
thank you, Anamika. It's a pleasure to see you and to support this fabulous gathering that you and Harsita have worked on. And we love it and we love you and we're honored to be here.
Thank you so much.
Thank you, Anamika. It's great to be with you.
The same. So let's just start with taking you back 9 years ago. You released the first Tribe. I think it was 11/11/2011, right?
Right.
So it's already 9 years, and it was eye-opening for millions of people. Yeah, you just woke up, I think, millions of people all around the planet. And then why did you need to create the Tribe too?
Well, I guess I'll begin with that one. We certainly didn't intend to make a Thrive 2. We really had no idea what would happen with Thrive 1. We felt like we had a comprehensive diagnosis, really, that would help create more leverage solutions. That's what Thrive 1 was all about. And then after it went out, it was over 90 million documented views in 27 languages. And what happened is we heard from so many people from around the world with remarkable inventions and innovations and technologies and insights. And so we just kind of divvy them out and start checking them out. And we got doctors and engineers and other people to check them out with us and realized there is so much fabulous stuff going on around the world that people don't know about. And it especially happened that we heard from people, our friends would come by and they were feeling pretty depressed about the state of things. And Foster and I were pretty much on fire with all of the fabulous things we were discovering. And that was when we just thought, gosh, we got to let the world see what we see in terms of possibilities. And so that's really what inspired it. And it was in Costa Rica that we made that decision, actually.
Amazing. And we are just so blessed to have this gift with Strive 2, because now we can really see so many opportunities that there is for humanity to thrive, to evolve. And maybe I will ask Foster, because the film, if I remember, is starting with your story, your personal story about connecting to something that was what you call the unified field. I can call it in our, from my experience, the essence of oneness, of being connected to everything that exists. And this experience that you had as a young boy led you to a life journey, right? Mm-hmm. When you investigate really what it is, this unified field, and it took you also to kind of see if the science can really understand what you experience, right?
Yeah.
So how the understanding of the unified field from all these different perspectives that you investigate can really help us to thrive as humanity.
Yeah. Well, what we depicted in Thrive 1 was when I had that vision on a school bus. I was somewhat traumatized by these exercises we would do at school where the siren would go off imitating a nuclear attack, and we would jump under our desks and put our hands over our heads like that was going to protect us somehow from a nuclear attack. And it was a very strong impression on me that, wait a minute, I don't think human beings are relating to energy well. I don't think we're relating to each other well. And I better try to help figure this out if I'm going to survive, if my loved ones and humanity is going to survive. So that's when shortly after that is when I had that vision where I was shown the torus, which I found out later was the fundamental energy pattern, the pattern of sustainability at every scale, from the microscopic to the galactic. And then so we depicted that in Thrive 1, and that seemed to be very helpful for people all over the world, scientists and healers and shamans and so forth. But then in Thrive 2, when Kimberly and I were traveling around and meeting these amazing breakthrough inventors with free energy and healers with cures for all sorts of incorrigible diseases, and the shamans who were talking about the field of consciousness that they were tuning to, we were so struck by how they were all using this same language of vibration, frequency, and resonance. And they were all talking about mimicking, aligning with the geometry of the field. Mm-hmm. And the geometry has been an obsession of mine since I was a child. And then when I was introduced to plant medicine, and the medicine was showing me the geometries and literally showing me, okay, you can use it this way for energy, and you can use it this way for healing and so forth. Kimberly and I, after leading a workshop at Rhythmia in Costa Rica, where we were so excited, people were coming up to us and saying things like, I finally feel proud to be human again. It seems like maybe there is hope. And we literally sat down and looked at each other there on the campus there and said, okay, we need to share this information with the world. So what we did for the torus in the first movie, now we decided to do for the whole field. We like to say Thrive 2 starring the unified field.
This is brilliant. This is, for me, it's like, will be the starting point, right? For us to change our perspective of the world. We need to tap into this understanding of the unified field, because if we are not, it's really difficult to have a dialogue or to kind of, create.
Yes.
So it is so important that you are pointing this one. And also I saw that like Nassim Harmin is using this understanding in his developing all kind of energy devices, right? Maybe you can share a little bit more about his work.
Yes, not only devices, but the we depicted in Thrive 2 a brief version of his contribution to an emerging unified field theory. And he was hoping to have his final paper done by the time we launched. And it took a little bit longer than he thought, but the abstract is now online. And within the next few weeks, he will be posting on the internet what Einstein was looking for his entire life, what scientists since the beginning of the scientific method have been looking for. Is there an explanation, a perspective, which shows that all these so-called separate forces are somehow one dynamic? Now, this is what the mystics have been saying for thousands of years. And a few years ago, I had the privilege to spend an afternoon with the Dalai Lama. And I asked him, I said, what are you especially excited about these days? And he said, I'm really enjoying meeting with Western physicists. And I said, why? And he got this twinkle in his eye and he said, because they're finally starting to get it. And this is what's happening now. We were so thrilled to be able to bring it forward in Thrive 2, is that science and spirituality, they shouldn't be separate anyway, but they have been separated. And scientists, physicists weren't even allowed to talk about what they called the C word, consciousness, until recently. And now the two are coming together into a simple, seamless description of how we are actually part of this unified field. And if we understand it well enough, then we can apply it for healing and clean energy access and expanding our consciousness.
Yeah, this is a mind-blowing, really amazing, amazing breakthrough. And Kimberly, you did like a deep investigation into the whole field of alternative medicine. You took the journey to meet all kind of healers and modalities, and you showing there in the movie like really amazing and simple way for us to heal. And maybe, I don't know, you can share with us a little bit about what was the most exciting part of your discoveries on this journey.
Well, I love that my exploration took me all over, meeting so many fascinating people. And I think probably, well, how much they all had in common was really interesting to me, whether they were dealing with preventing illness altogether or detecting it early or curing something that already had happened. They were all dealing with communication within our bodies and communication between our bodies and the field that we are made of and a part of. And this whole notion of being distinct and unified at the same time was really an important part of it. Then we use in the movie the image of the whirlpool in water, where you can see that a whirlpool, it's made of the water, but at the same time, it's distinct within it. And understanding that about a human body, having that sense of my biological being as sort of the whirlpool, but it's only as strong as my connection to the source from which I'm made, right, and coming. And so whatever I can do to have my center be strong and clear, and that has everything to do with my daily decisions. So again and again, you know, there is no magic pill. That's the basic conclusion. We don't get to take something from outside of us that magically remedies our thoughts or our daily habits. That's our responsibility, and the rewards for aligning our behavior with our greater understanding are huge. And I really had a chance to experience that. And then probably the other part was the way in which the health modalities mimicked the consciousness expanding modalities, where, like Foster said, it was all about energy. Everything's energy, and it's all about vibration, frequency, and resonance within that.
I'll tell one thrilling story to me, which is that one of the technologies that Kimberly was working with, this Dr. Todd Ovakaitis, who spent 20 years finding the lost chord, this chord of frequencies that actually awakens our own dormant stem cells and then can guide them through our bloodstream to wherever you want them to go. And then they just start healing and creating new tissue and bone or whatever is needed. They're called pluripotent cells, which means they're capable of everything. And so I did a treatment at this clinic in Costa Rica that Kimberly called the general rejuvenation. And they took a little of my blood and spun it and then applied these laser frequencies to it, then put it back in my blood and then aimed this laser at different organs and parts of my brain and so forth. And I didn't especially feel anything while it was happening. And then I went to work out the next day. And I'm accustomed to how many weights I can usually lift, how many times and so forth. And I was about a third stronger. And then when I came home, I went to I get a new prescription for my sunglasses. And I said to the optometrist, I said, would you measure before and after just so I can be sure? I think my eyesight is better than it's been in a long time. And she kind of rolled her eyes and said, well, okay, well, I'll do that. So she does the test. Then she starts going on to the next test, a peripheral vision thing. And I said, no, wait a minute. So what were the numbers? And she kind of sheepishly goes, well, yeah, you were a third better in one eye, 33%, and 30% better in the other eye. And I said, well, why didn't you tell me that? And she says, well, it doesn't fit in my scientific paradigm. and that improvement has held to this day. And that's only a small glimpse of what's coming with this natural healing.
It's amazing. This is amazing. And your insight, Kimberly, that you mentioned in the beginning, that it's not a magic pill. And it's really important also for all the people to understand, I think, because there is amazing modalities of healing right now, but together with taking them, or, going through a process with them, there is always kind of an inner work that needs to happen. And this is something that nobody is educating us for. Yeah. To do that, this kind of finding this inner stillness within you.
The whole notion of stillness. Well, I think one thing that you can see in common in all of the solutions that we address is that they empower decentralized solutions, right? We're for people having the power over their own lives to make their own decisions about their health, freedom about what they have done to their bodies, and that they really get empowered to prevent and early diagnose stuff, which is where it's so much easier to remedy something than when you're all the way far down a line of some metastasized cancer or something. And the thing about stillness is it was pretty profound to recognize that stillness is not still. It's just this constant rhythmic, balanced interchange of energy that's always interacting and always sort of self-correcting to stay alive to the movement of the cosmos and the field that we are in. And that, that informs everything from meditation to self-correcting our thoughts and our actions and all the rest. It's not like you achieve some state and stagnantly maintain it. It takes renewal again and again and again. And it's never too late, and there's always a chance to achieve greater stillness.
So it's something that you need to cultivate every day, always, in the whole life.
That's all there is. It's just coming closer again and again and again and again, and coming back to that open state, which is stillness. And it's true whether it's a technology or a being. That's the key.
I'll say something about that too, because I found this really intriguing. You know, we talk in Thrive 2 about how music seems to be the key to unlocking the unified field. And one of the things that we found along the line of what you're both speaking about is that even the energy devices need to be constantly tuned. And this young man, Maxwell, in Africa, who developed this amazing device that puts out 0.5 megawatt of energy. It's not plugged into anything, no moving parts, absolutely clean and quiet. And he said one of the keys to developing this technology was coming up with algorithms, with computer algorithms that control a circuit board so that it's monitoring the energy flowing through it so that it's always keeping it in tune. And it really reminded me of what Kimberly was just saying with in meditation. You know, it's not like you achieve something and then it just lasts forever. You're constantly coming back to center, back to center, back to center. And the same thing that the shamans are working with people on. So that seems to be one of the key principles that's emerging for humanity right now is find the stillness, go into resonance with the field, and then find practices that keep you tuning yourself to the field always.
Mm-hmm. So super important. And I just wanted to say here to the audience, please write your questions in the Q&A box and not on the chat one. It is easy for me to navigate it like this. Thank you. So you spent many years traveling, researching all these solutions that radically can change our world, and you found so many, the stem cells and more, etc. But we don't have an access to this promising breakthrough. Why?
This is kind of, it's really I'd say it's my next passion, is to really go deeper into the whole exploration of health freedom, because this, you know, move toward control of the human experience is something that we've documented really well in Thrive 1 and also carry it forward in Thrive 2 to understand. I think that our challenge really is to this notion of a non-aggression principle where we learn how to live with each other when we don't agree. That's actually the challenge that we face more than bringing everyone into agreement. You know, those of us who share a common understanding of the field or a vision of a future that we could talk about and are aligned with, there are others for whom that's not the vision or the experience. So for them, control or even a way of interfacing our, you know, the technology and our bodies. There's a lot of stuff going on around that these days. And so I think knowing ourselves and claiming our sovereignty and our right to control what we do with our bodies is absolutely critical for what's going on now. And part of what we wanted to do is to help people recognize what's possible so that we stop settling for less. Because there really are tremendous things available. It's just that we have to, you know, turn off the message that says we're victims, that we're not enough, that we can't control our own health, that we don't own our own bodies, and that we shouldn't make these decisions for ourselves. And we need to claim that as individuals and then align with others who share that in order to make sure that we maintain the fundamental right to determine what we do with ourselves, including access to different health modalities. So it's what's coming. The showdown's on, I believe, for that, and we'll be right there front and center in that conversation.
I would also add to that, I mean, that was a question that was just, had me by the ears for years trying to figure out why would any human beings do this to other human beings, keep away cancer cures, keep away free energy, keep away, prosperity and freedom. And so I researched a lot of history and came up with what I hold in my mind is kind of the true fable of the rise of the predator class. And in a really quick nutshell, when I look back, 1,000, 2,000 years, when humans started to move from hunter-gatherers to an agrarian society, they could actually settle down. Once they learned how to plant seeds and harvest and keep seeds and so forth, they could settle down and begin to build civilization. Because for the first time, there was some time, they weren't fighting the elements and the animals there all the time. So they started building a culture and starting to build wealth. If you have a silo full of grain, now you've got capital, you've got wealth that can last you through the winter and so forth. But there were even then a few people in society, for whatever reason, whether they had a really difficult childhood and didn't get enough of what they need, or whatever influences they had, made them into predators, where they saw, okay, these other people are working hard and storing this grain, we can just go steal it from them and we won't have to work hard. So they started marauding in different places. And then they realized, okay, well, that works, but we're still moving around and having to fight all the time. So they invented royalty. Once they kind of conquered a local group, somebody put a tin crown on their head and said, hey, I'm your new king. Now you have to pay me a certain percentage of your hard-earned money to protect you from marauders like me. And so royalty was born. Finally, people saw through that, and so they changed it into the priesthood, and they changed it into the dictators. But people have saw through all of that. But now we're still in this illusion of the republic and of the democracy, and of the Commonwealth, where we're still under the illusion, most of humanity, that a few people should be ruling us. And that's the first con. If they can get you to believe that, then they've got power. And the next thing they're going to do with power is create laws that protect their power. The next thing they're going to do is create laws that allow them to print money, but you can't. And that's why we're in the predicament that we're in today, because we still are living within structures that most people still believe in and pay willingly, some of them, and vote for, where the psychopaths have risen to the top. Still, the predators are in charge of these large institutions, and they're taking advantage of us. And while we could be thriving on a radiant planet, we're literally struggling for our ecological survival, our economic, the education, the media systems, the money system. They're a disaster and getting worse. And this is the moment, and one of the reasons why we've made both of these films is to help people wake up and reclaim their individual sovereignty, because we not only don't need to be ruled by other people, but unless we reclaim our sovereignty, then our very survival, much less thriving, is really in question.
I know. I see, like, in many of the world right now, there is so many protests against the government, and also in Israel, when I'm involved with some of the conversation of people wanting to change the prime minister, to change the government. There is a lot of energy, like all other places right now that you see. But in all these conversations, I'm saying, like, it will not help if we are going to change the prime minister right now, because it's like we will create the same system with different politicians, different names, but we are not changing here anything. And this conversation is really, I think, what we need to open up right now in the world, and to let people understand it deeply, that this route is just like going to repeat itself, because we are not really changing anything here.
Yeah.
Yes, regime change is not going to do it. We actually need to break out of that old paradigm and free ourselves from the whole myth of authority. Now, it seems like the most obvious thing in the world, because everybody that I've met actually wants to be free and doesn't want to be violated against their will. But at the same time, it's the most radical notion on the planet that we shouldn't have a government ruling over us. And that's why you can see governments are clamping down on all of that. And the social media that they control through their corporatocracy, they're censoring this type of information to try to keep people from waking up. But you can't keep the life force and the truth down forever.
Yeah. And you really see that with the information war now and all of the censorship. I think it's helping to wake people up. Like if humanity is trying to solve a problem, why would we cut off information and debate and have people say, hey, I think this and I think that, and compare notes? And, you know, for us, our favorite thing is to listen to people who disagree so that we can think for ourselves, well, what do we think about that? And then if we disagree, we can talk about it. And that, I think the most surprising thing has been how courageous you have to be just to think independently. Like I used to say to my kids, think as if nobody's watching, right? Like let your mind go, imagine all kinds of things, explore taboo subjects, and then decide for yourself, because that's where we go wrong, is in thinking that by limiting information or imagination, somehow that's going to help. And that will never help. We need access to the whole shebang in order to figure out for ourselves what's true.
So what will be the solution for non-government society, and how this will function?
I think it's understanding that the difference between rules and rulers. So the notion of personal accountability, where you can't violate somebody against their will, has to be enforced, right? So there are enforceable rules. It's the notion that we operate from equal accountability, so that you know, we tried to really unpack the fundamental flaw in the logic that I could give something that I don't have. If I don't have the right to prevent you from taking some medicine or herb or something that you find to be helpful, Anamika, if I don't have that right, how could I give somebody else the right to do that? Mm-hmm. And so it's unpacking that to be able to say, all right, so what would it look like if we don't violate each other against our will? And there are, you know, pillars of a society that would have to be there for security, to protect against marauders, and insurance. People need insurance is a fundamental thing that says, whoa, if everything goes wrong here, I need a way to not get completely wiped out. There has to be ways for people to solve problems when they can't agree. Right. So these are fundamental pillars of a free world. They just don't empower people with the ability to print money and control us and curtail our access to information and force us into, you know, having control over our own bodies. That is and this divide and conquer thing. I think that's one thing I just want to address that's going on here, whether it's left, right, mask, no mask, black, white, however you do it, there are so many divisions now that are created to keep our attention from this, you know, dangerous fundamental hoax and the trillions of dollars that are going to the big banks right now in the name of COVID. That we're not even paying attention to. And instead we're fighting among ourselves and families getting ripped apart instead of noticing what's really happening.
Another thing that I would say about how could it work without an authoritarian state is that we're not talking about, you know, just chaos in the streets. As Kimberly said, there would be rules, just no rulers. And there would still be organizations. There would be businesses and institutes and clubs and associations, so that people would still be self-organizing, but the principle would be that it would be voluntary and not create any initiation of force or any aggression, rather than that it's involuntary, it's enforced by a few people at the point of a gun.
Yeah. And it's certainly a good idea to start considering some radical new ways of organizing ourselves on this planet, because it's clearly not working the way it is. And we're in a big opportunity. There is a big opportunity on the table right now. And I think that the threat that we face is equal to the opportunity that we have now to rise to that and transcend it with something that's really completely different.
And I would say it's a lot about education and educating people to this non-aggression principle.
Yes.
You know, in my life, I found myself living in alternative community for 15 years, and with the dream to create a different, at least bubble of my life, that I was disillusioned. Kind of, yeah. I woke up in this bad dream that even here it's not happening. So it's like something really deep within us that we need to teach our kids. You know, maybe to really invest in the young generation of humanity right now, to that they will have it so deep inside of them. This principle, it will be natural to them.
Yeah.
I think the basis, go ahead, Kimberly.
I was going to say, I think we need structures to support that, not just hope that everybody's going to come up with a commitment to it. And for me, I mean, I see it now. If we were to ask people, what's your vision of a thriving world? Most people's answer would be that they could somehow get everybody else to agree with their vision. And we're trained into that. And so there's coercion going on all the time, whether it's in our personal relations, our community relations, and certainly in our world. And so how do we actually listen across worldview to say, I mean, look, you know, Elon Musk wants to make a neural link. He made it to plug our brains into a computer. Now, some of us don't want to do that, but you know what? That's going to happen. It's happening. So how do we live? How do we coexist where there's the freedom to do that and the freedom not to? That's our task. And that's what non-aggression principle really opens up for us, is how do we have the stillness and the capacity and the self-knowing and the sovereign rights that we claim to say, you can do that, I can do this. And our job is to build the structures to make it that we can coexist on this planet without your way spilling into mine or my way spilling into yours. And that's where accountability comes up. So I think that we have a big challenge for our future generation as well as for us to have a whole new way of thinking, because we've been trained in coercion. If I could just get you to agree with me, it would be fine. And that's, if I had to bet, you know, hope for our future on that, I would be hopeless. And I'm not hopeless. I'm actually quite optimistic, because I think it's so bad that we're being sort of driven to a new state. And this new state is, how can we coexist across this? Because it is not going to happen that we agree. Instead, we need to find that if you want a vaccine, you get one. If you want to wear a mask, you wear a mask. If I don't want to have a vaccine, I don't want to do it, then I don't. How do we figure that out?
Yes.
That's the question. That's the conversation I want to be in. Yeah.
Yeah. And I know that you work a lot about creating solution hub for people to plug in and learn more about all the different subjects maybe you can share with people a little bit about this solution hub and how they can be engaged more in Thrive.
Yeah, there are a few things. I'll mention one thing about the Solutions Hub, and then Foster tell about the Freedom Portal, because Foster has a really exciting thing that he's offering. Martin Luther King said that, something like the world will change when people who love peace get as organized as people who love war. And I have to say, it has been our experience traveling around the world that there are so many good people doing so many good things in a disorganized, not coordinated way, so that a community here is working on the same thing as a community there, and their resources and their insights are not being shared. So toward that end, we are offering something called the Thrive Solutions Hub, which we'll be putting out as soon as we can. We're working on, just came from a meeting on the tech with the tech team on that. And what it is it's a free web app, open source, where you can join by issue or by region and share with people, so that we can have more leveraged, coordinated actions as well as sharing of information, because the whole world's going through remarkably similar things, and whether or not this particular detail applies, that can be morphed community to community. The basic insights and resources can be shared. So we'll be offering that, and it's based on a solutions model that Foster can describe, in which he also uses to help inform the lens of another offering, which we have called our Freedom Portal with Foster Gamble.
Yeah, in the Solutions Hub, people are constantly asking, well, what can one person do up against these massive problems? And over the decades, we've come upon a process that was really helpful for each of us, and that we've shared with people all over the world, that begins with discovering and writing down your purpose, and then choosing which sector do I want to work on in life that captures my passion and brings my skills and so forth. And then within that sector, what is the issue that I want to take on? And then within that issue, what's the level of engagement that's most comfortable for me? Am I an immediate needs person, or do I want to work with changing systems, or do I want to work with the consciousness shift itself? So once someone knows all of that about themselves, they're a very powerful person in the world. And then you can use the Solutions Hub to either start a group or find and join a group, and then bring those skills to bear. When Kimberly and I were traveling around the world doing screenings after Thrive 1 came out, we discovered in virtually every city there were already self-created Thrive-inspired solutions groups. And so we just created a hub on our website so that they could talk to each other and share best practices and so forth. And there are already over 1,100 of them in more than 90 countries, taking on over 200 issues. So we're going to bring all that forward into our new website. We're gearing it up. The new Solutions Hub will be ready in a few weeks. But as people come in, then if they're taking on an issue, like we had a toxic aerial spray going on years ago in our area here, and we implemented this model for the first time. And within days, we had lawyers filing lawsuits, and we had scientists flying to New Zealand to find out what was the root of this agricultural problem that they were claiming. And we had media people creating documentaries, and we had relationship people helping everybody to get along. And Kimberly and I followed the money back within a couple of weeks to a $1 billion earmark from George Bush Jr. To spray 11 million people with secret toxic chemicals that we finally made them reveal. And the long and short of it is, within 6 months, we stopped that entire project cold with about $50,000 and a lot of well-organized volunteer time. And we got through the Freedom of Information Act, we got some of their emails. And with this one said that we expected some resistance from Santa Cruz, California, but we had no idea it would be so well organized. So this is the model now that we're sharing with people all over the world. And then the Freedom Portal that Kimberly mentioned is, I don't think Kimberly or I will ever make another feature-length film. And I don't think we need to, nor do we want to. It's too much work. But I want to be engaged in this conversation for how do we create a truly free and accountable society. I want to be engaged in that till my last breath. So we've opened this communication aperture with the world, with communications flying both ways. I ask questions to other people ask questions to me, and then on pretty much a weekly basis, we get together online on Saturdays, and we'll either dive deep into a particular topic, or we'll have a general Q&A, or we'll invite some experts on, cutting edge experts in this particular area that we're focusing on, hopefully who don't necessarily agree with each other, so we can all learn from expertise that comes from different perspectives. So that's been kicked off for a month now. It's going really well. And for people who want to learn that process, go to the Solutions Hub. You can already start in on the personal process, and within a few weeks, you'll be able to access other groups. And if you want to actually engage in the conversation, not only learn from us, but to share your perspectives and those of other people in the portal, go to thriveon.com and subscribe to the Freedom Portal with me.
Amazing, amazing, amazing.
I'm super excited about that because I think it really is a chance to model what we're talking about. Like I know on March 27th in Foster's Freedom Portal, Greg Braden and I are going to participate with some other people who have different insights and opinions about transhumanism and the notion of human augmentation, and where that whole medical data and health freedom come together in order to have conversations that are just really important, both for the information, but also for the skill of learning how to truly find the place of non-aggression, of allowing each other to disagree in a whole new world that's emerging. So yeah, I love it.
I love it too. I participated in the first meeting, and I sent it right away to all my friends, and it was like, guys, we need to hook up with Foster and do this, you know, and just it will help us all to really take whatever we are engaging in to the next level. And it is so important that you are doing it. It's like, it's a really great offering. And I think there is so many people that's ready to jump into the next level, but we need a guidance. We need somehow to learn, and if there is already, you know, a model that is working and we can follow and you know, just apply to different subjects that we meet in life.
Yeah, I think so too. And Foster's commitment to solutions in this whole thing, I think the subtext is there's light at the end of the rabbit hole. And so using this particular thing to dive into, you know, what's going on, how is it being spun, what are we led to believe, how does this serve an agenda that we've identified, and then what do we do, how do we unpack the truth about it, and what do we do in order to find the solutions so that we can have the sovereign, healthy, thriving lives that we know is possible. And so that's true. This last time was on the elections. The next time's on COVID. Like, there's always some fascinating things to really dive into and go, okay. And I'll tell you, living with Foster, like his research, our whole house is filled with binders and papers from research he does. And when I go to disagree with him about something, I'll tell you, I better be super prepared, because he'll pull out a binder with all this stuff going, okay, well, here's the evidence I have. And so, yeah, it's fun to have other people get to share that outside of me.
Yeah, it is. Here I have Orion. So whenever I want to to share with him something, he said, okay, show me
Right.
that you did the research good. Both
Exactly.
sides, don't, I'm not
Yeah.
buying if you are hooked to one side just because this guy is charismatic or whatever.
Yeah.
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 Right.
It doesn't work that way. Yeah. Yeah.
Great. Guys, I can speak with you for 10 hours, I'm sure, and I will not have enough.
Thank you. Oh, we love
I want to honor your time. I know that you're super busy people, and I'm so grateful to have your film in Spirit Film Festival and to have you here
Thank
for
you.
this conversation. It was a lot of fun. We learned a lot, and
Thank you. We appreciate you and Mitra Polidi, our dear friend who
Oh,
introduced
right.
us originally and who's been a really important dear friend and teacher in my life. And so the time that we've spent with you already, and we look forward to more, and we really appreciate this good work that you're doing. And thank you for including us in your film festival.
You know, before we sign off, there's a couple of things that I want to say. The first is I noticed that there's a question in the chat that says, is there a connection to Wilhelm Reich,
Yes.
his work and findings? And I'm certainly no expert on Reich, but I would say the answer is absolutely. That Wilhelm Reich was one of the people who was very aware of the dynamics of the unified field. He referred to the healing part of that as orgone energy, and he developed technologies with different types of materials and geometry and so forth to literally tap the energy of the field for healing. So yeah, it's absolutely connected with that. And the other thing that I want to say is that I have a really special place in my heart for Jerusalem and the area of Israel on an esoteric basis. And I want to just briefly describe that. One of the reasons why, besides our affection for you and Harsita, that I was thrilled to get to be involved in this particular film festival is that, first of all, Nassim Haramein and I and Graham Hancock all share the belief that the Ark of the Covenant was, in a sense, potentially the first free energy device on planet Earth. And I think it was housed for a long time in the Temple of Solomon there. And then I think that in order to protect it, it was taken and hidden. I think there are actually several arks, and they've gone to different places, and that's another whole story that I won't get into now. But the essence of the technology that Nassim is inventing is the Ark of the Covenant. The Ark of the myth is that the tablets were in there, and I don't know, maybe they were, maybe they weren't, but we're very clear that it was built as a free energy device. It was acacia wood in certain 5 dimensions, and then encased on the inside and outside with gold, and then these electrodes, these cherubim on the top, and then the ark was literally an ark of electricity that was coming from, I think, one of Nassim's devices that was actually brought probably by extraterrestrials and then put into the ark. So that's one connection that I have. Secondly, I was trained and taught the nonviolent martial art of Aikido for 15 years. And the founder of Aikido, his spiritual tradition was one called Kotodama, which means knowledge of the vibration of the universe. And it's thousands of years old in Japan. But at one point, their prophecies said that they needed to hide the knowledge and encode it. And the encoding would be passed on to the Hebrew people for safekeeping. And in fact, I believe that that the knowledge was put into the Ark of the Covenant. The knowledge was built into literally the Hebrew alphabet. And I spent many years with Stan Tenen and the Meru Project decoding the Hebrew alphabet into 6 levels of error correction. The alphabet and the first line of the first book of the Torah version of the book of Genesis outlines and defines the torus and the vector equilibrium, I think, as the source of how to access the divine energy. And then finally, this Kotodama tradition was a chanting tradition. They had 49 motive sounds, and the final one, the 50th sound, was a single chant that combined all the rest and put you in touch with God directly. And they, in the Japanese tradition, they said "Suai." So they're literally creating a torus inside their head, resonating it, and then connecting it with the field. And if you listen to those syllables, they started with an S, with a hiss of the background energy. But then after this, it's Yahweh. It's Yahweh. So the word of God that wasn't to be pronounced carelessly was actually the intonation of the Torah chant that connected you with the unified field. And I do believe the Hebrew people kept that energy, that esoteric knowledge secret, and that now is the time. It was predicted by the Japanese tradition that at the time of the computer, and they described in detail what that would be, then the intuitive and the scientific would need to be brought together in humanity for the survival of the species. So I'm especially honored to be a part of this Spirit Film Festival sourcing out of Israel.
You leave us with a mind blowing.
But I digress.
What is this man downloading right now? Wow. Now you send me for 1 year of research. I know from my experience, whenever I open the Hebrew, or like really a sacred text with the alphabet and reading it or singing with it, there is like a very special vibration that is activating within me. Yeah, I call it, it's connected to my DNA or whatever, but I definitely I recognize that there is a different frequency that I don't find in any other languages.
Yes. And anyone who's interested in pursuing the science behind that, I highly recommend that you explore the Meru project, M-E-R-U. Stan Tenen spent his entire life decoding this, and it's really beautiful and accurate work that has now been validated by rabbis all over the world.
Mm-hmm. Amazing, amazing. Our city here is wowing.
Well, thank you so much for the opportunity to participate with you and your network. And we really encourage people, if they haven't already, go to our website at thriveon.com, look at the trailer. And if you can, I don't think you'll be able to resist the trailer, then you can see Thrive 1 for free, and you can rent and buy Thrive 2 right there on the website.
Yeah. And I'm really encouraging everybody to join the Freedom Portal with you, sister. It's like if you see the film, you understand that this is the time that you need to act. It's not just insight for you and gaining your inner balance, or to arrange your life. And it's okay, but we've been there, and we know that this is the time that we really need to take this humanity forward, and you are a great help for all of us to do that.
Thank
so
you.
Again, thank you, and thank you.
We love you.
We love you so much. I'm looking forward for our next meeting.
Yes,
guys.
I hope it's in Costa Rica.
I hope so.
Yes.
We'd love to have you here for dinner.
Yes. Well, bye for now.
Bye for now. Have a really good day. And
thank you. You too.
Goodbye to you and everyone involved with your film festival.
Yes.
Bye.
ביי ביי. תודה לכל האנשים שהיו פה איתנו. אתם יכולים להיכנס לאתר שלנו, spiritfilmfestival.co.il, והסרט Thrive פתוח עכשיו מהערב עד יום שבת ב7 לנובמבר. אתם יכולים לצפות בסרט, וגם דרך אתר סינמטק תל אביב, cinema.co.il, ושיהיה לכולם ערב נעים ומקסים. Thank you. Thank you, guys. Bye-bye.
Thank you. Bye.